I'm doing some world building with an AI. So this is an AI that can generate text based on what you write. It's based on GPT-3, and so I'm doing some world building for a game I'm developing. So if you have any suggestions about what to add into the sci-fi world, please let me know. Sci-fi world in which civilization lives on spaceships. Lives solely on spaceships. Let's do some multiple choice and see what the AI comes up with. Many generations before, an alien attack forced humanity to flee Earth and settle on other planets. The spaceships are large enough to hold entire ecosystems and maintain their own gravitational fields. The ships rotate through space to simulate gravity. I like this ecosystems one. They're large enough to hold entire ecosystems and maintain their own gravitational fields. Giving me Wall-E vibes. Let's do co-create, which co-create generates a big block text. Ships are built by machines which are controlled by humans, but the humans are only living in their virtual worlds. I don't know about that. Let's see, the spaceships are large enough to hold entire ecosystems and maintain their own gravitational fields. Let's talk about some of these ecosystems. The ecosystems come from destroyed planets and environments that colonialism, that the empire has expanded into. This is taking inspiration. Okay, I'm gonna write some inspirations from sci-fi novels that I've enjoyed. The Snow Queen, Ancillary Justice. If you have any sci-fi novels that you want to share that I should take a look at, I can incorporate those into the world build as well. Ancillary Justice has expanded too. Let's see what else AI has to offer. There are a few spaceships that have a unique environment that they carry, which is a planet that was brought into the spaceship, and it maintains the original ecosystem. These people live in these environments and live their entire lives there. The main characters live on one of the larger ships in Nightingale. Okay, I like the idea that there are spaceships that have unique environments. Maybe some of them are not unique. Maybe some of them are like clusters of spaceships that all carry the same thing. Maybe this is something about people who have expanded into space and they're living in spaceships that are infinitely expandable. And the second one I think is definitely true, so I'm going to add that there. They live in spaceships because there is infinitely expandable housing. Let me send this to my Twitter followers. Okay. Live in spaceship because there's infinitely expandable housing. parsing. What do they do? What is the potential drama for people kept in spaceships? Spaceships are so large that they can become fragile. The number of people living inside, more so than a planet. Humanity is relearning how to take care of the place where they live, where they live. Hold on, just managing Twitter. Okay, so the galaxy is controlled by the Empire, which has figured out how to create artificial intelligence. I like artificial intelligence as a subject. I'm working with an AI. I wonder how to incorporate it though. Okay, the story is set in a time period where this civilization is undergoing a crisis. That definitely will be true, and it doesn't need to be said. The main character is a young girl living in one of these spaceships. That might be interesting if it's a young girl seeing how she's growing up and living. Okay, let's see. So AI, I'll leave that aside and maybe I'll think about that later. What's very cool about this is that this AI can tell that my document is a planning document. Like the things it was generating was like, in this story, the main character, blah, 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 even though I never really said that this is a planning document. So that's very cool. Whereas, for example, here, this text is just the story itself. So it's very cool that the AI is able to tell those differences, and it's able to generate something based on just the context alone. So that's super powerful. Let's see. Character's young girl living in one of these spaceships. Maybe let's keep it cheesy, and then we'll build out the uniqueness once we've got the main plotline down. So she is trying to contact a friend on another space. Contact her friend on another spaceship. But they can't communicate because of a malfunction in the space-time continuum. No, excuse me, I don't want to mess with time itself. I want this to be all based on the ships and the people. Interference, that's kind of interesting. The electromagnetic interference from the ships. So for the last one, I could see it where maybe the ship's structure is breaking down. Something about their very stable, contained life is breaking down. I kind of like that. I'm not sure about it, but that's an interesting thread. I mean, with this document and AI, we can just explore whatever we want. Maybe because of the electromagnetic interference from the ships. These elaborately spaceships are deteriorating. No one knows if it's from deliberate interference or a failure in technology. Let's see what the AI generates next. Spaceships and living inside them is a new and fresh way to imagine life. Oh my goodness. No, that's terrible. That sounds like a bad copywriting for an ad. Main character goes on a journey to find her friend and try to communicate with them. She meets people along the way and learns about the deterioration of these spaceships. Okay. So she's going on a journey to find her friend. This seems like a good plot. I'm agnostic as to whether this is a game or a piece of creative writing. And so I think I'm going to allow both to happen. But going on a journey to find her friend, that seems very much like a game. It's a little bit like that could be the baseline for a creative writing plot, but it's a lot more basic than a fully fledged story would be. And something I've mentioned is like, in order for something to be a story, it needs to have some sort of compelling reason for it to be written. It needs some sort of impetus that makes it special, that makes it need to be told in a story and brought into creation for humanity. So going on a journey, not quite there yet, but it could be an excellent game. These giant spaceships that hold these massive, detailed world environments. That's fascinating. That's really fascinating. So now I'm like getting all in my head thinking about what this game would be like, but I'm not gonna I'm not gonna get too far into it. Okay, so the more text we have in this AI, the better it works. So maybe we could like seed it somehow with a little more text. Let's look up a writer that I love is no, Joan Diamond, just the other one. I think Lois. I forget her last name, but she wrote The Curse of Chalion, and she wrote this sci-fi series with this guy named Mike. I want to say. Okay, Lois McMaster Bugel. There we go. I'll just copy and paste this. The Curse of Chalion is quite good. All these writers have a very high standard for literature. I can play a mediocre game, but I will not read mediocre writing. And all of these are extremely good at what they do. They've got very good craft. And she's won, Bujold has won Hugo Award, etc. So, what is her work called? It's like the Miles series. Shards of Honor, Warrior's Apprentice, Vorkusigan. Okay. And we're going to find a passage from there. Vorkusigan's Saga passage. Also, a guide to the Vorkusigan Saga reading order. Let's see. Instead of passage, I'll search excerpt. That is how you spell excerpt. I become very self-conscious by spelling when I'm on camera. Performing it to everyone. Read an excerpt. I'm not sure that that's what it is. Okay. looks like your Internet Explorer is out of date. My Internet Explorer is not out of date because I'm not using Internet Explorer. I doubt that I'm going to get it from here. Come on, come on. Yeah, you kind of have to figure out how to work with the AI. Did you see that description? It was like the Worldbuilding saga is a romance disguised as space opera. All right, I don't know that I'm going to get. Oh, are these really the? Are these really the chapters? I will take this. Oh, no. They're not. But the sort of perspective might actually be quite good for my document, which is planning. Okay. Who is writing this? Ellen Cheeseman Meyer. Was this? Let's see this passage and see what kind of stylistic cues co-creator will draw from it. Let's see. Somehow the prompts that I'm getting from the AI have just become shorter and shorter lately, and I'm not sure if it's some sort of thing on the end of OpenAI or a thing on the end of here. So let's see. Let's try that again. The main character goes on a journey to find her friend and try to communicate with them. Sir Gallon is the main antagonist. He has the ability to clone himself, and he has a very powerful ability to manipulate people. His plan is to take over humanity and control it through a set of clones. He wants to do this by taking over the spaceships and using them as a base for his cloning equipment. That's interesting. I really like the idea of repurposing the spaceships, even if the content of what the AI is saying itself is not quite what I want. So this is very logistical part of whose point of view it's from. Story takes place on a spaceship where many years ago humans destroyed their planet and moved into spaceships as a means to something. Okay, so here's what I'm taking from this. It's going to be about repurposing the spaceship. And it's also going to be about, this is interesting, okay? It says humans destroy their planet, which is something that I was picking up on. But when I first read that sentence, I was thinking of it as like humans purposely destroying their planet. And that's a really interesting thought. So maybe there's something about this empire where they purposely go and destroy planets. Because maybe to them, oh, I like this idea. Maybe to them, the peak of civilization is on a spaceship, detached from everything. And planetary things are just too messy. They're just resources to be exploited. So I really like that a lot. Okay. So let me go back here. They live in spaceships because it's infinitely expandable housing. The civilization space living as the pinnacle of civilization. We're going to be repetitive here because this is a planning document. As a pinnacle of civilization. What else was I saying? Oh, planets are merely nodes of resources to be exploited in order for space living to continue. I kind of like that. That could be useful in both game and story, like, because what you're doing in a game literally sometimes is mining resources. So I could see this as a game where you go mine resources from a spaceship. But then it's also like sets an interesting background for a story, like a written story, because maybe there's different settings. Like, what I like about this world build is that there's a potential for many different settings for this. You could have a lot of different types of stories take place within this larger world. You could have it take place on one planet, on the other, one spaceship or the other. Similarly, you can have a game. I could see it as like a more, an older game that is like the fixed screen sort of game. You go from scene to scene. And so each like ship or part of the ship could be a scene. You could play as like managing a ship. You could play as someone navigating within a ship and going down. Stuff like that. My friend and I, a while ago, were talking about how to make a better version of Among Us, the game, because there's some flaws with it. It's not necessarily, it doesn't mean it's a bad game, but for example, when you die as a player, you have nothing to do anymore. And so this could be an interesting setting for a game like Among Us, for example. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to continue to try to get some plot points down. An enemy is repurposing the spaceships. Co-create. Used as weapons in a future war. That's an interesting thought because you're taking a ship and changing it from something that's used as storage, something that's used as a weapon. So that's quite interesting. Let's do a multiple choice and see some directions that this can go. And this enemy is known as the Collective, and they are to be feared. Okay, that doesn't tell me much. This is a story about a society that is on the verge of collapse and how a young girl comes to understand what it means to be a member of a civilization. Okay, that's a little bit intriguing, but let's see the last one first. The story is about how this civilization has forgotten how to live on planets and has forgotten that they used to live there. These last two are both quite interesting because I could see the very last one. Again, like there's so many potentials for different possibilities of stories within this world. How this civilization has forgotten how to live on planets. That could be a sort of like hopeful WALL-E style thing of like, oh, humanity is refinding the places that it destroyed. But I don't quite want that yet. I haven't gotten deep enough into the current world to want to get out of it. So that's like for like book 7 in the saga. This is okay. The second one intrigues me because it says how a young girl comes to understand what it means to be a member of a civilization. So that's questioning the idea of like what is civilization? What does it mean to be civilized? And I have been reading Ancillary Justice, which talks a lot about that. And it's very interesting. So, okay, let's do that. This is a story about a society that's on the verge of collapse. How a young girl comes to understand what it means to be a member of civilization. Okay, so what does it mean to be a member of civilization? Procreate. Let's just see what it spits out to us. To be a member of civilization, she must look at the spaceships as a person would look at a body. What? That's such a weird line. But that's so interesting. What happens when a society loses its sense of place? This is a story about the end of a civilization and the beginning of a new one. Okay, it's starting to write the story for us. This is a story about a young girl who's trying to save her friend and the ship that they live in. Save the ship. Do we want to maintain the ships or do we want to destroy the ships? The main character must decide if she wants to save her friend or save the ship. She learns that both cannot be saved and she must decide which one to save. Oh, what a dilemma. A ship or a person? It kind of reminds me of Life is Strange when you decide between saving your best friend or the town. Okay, but I'm still stuck on this line. To be a member of civilization, she must look at the spaceships as a person would look at a body. How would a person look at a body? It's something, okay, you can look at your own body. That's something that you inhabit. And it's something that's part of you. So I kind of like that. I'm going to put some notes here. The spaceship is part of you. I'm going to categorize this. Your body. But also you can look at someone else's body. Someone else's body. Okay, when I think of someone looking at someone else's body, I think of something like desire. I think of exploitation. You can exploit someone else's body. You can make it do what you want. Desire, exploitation. Bodies in general. We also see bodies as containers for like someone's mind or their soul or something. So that's quite interesting. Let's see. So maybe this person has to go from seeing spaceships from spaceships as merely like containers of activity to like containers of something like a soul, but also something kind of to be used or to be exploited. That's kind of interesting. I'm hesitant now because it reminds me too much of the book I'm reading, Ancillary Justice, because that's talking about spaceships having souls. So we're just going to leave that there. I'm going to take out this dilemma that she has to decide whether to save her friend or the ship, because it seems a little bit too, I don't know, too canned. It's like pre-done. So I'm just gonna delete this and then create the end of civilization. How can the end of civilization happen? Maybe the ships can fracture. Maybe the ships, how do the ships communicate? How do the ships communicate? Maybe that is, maybe like the center fractures. Let's see what it's generated. This is a young girl. The story is about a young girl who's trying to save her friend in the ship that they live in. She's trying to save everyone because she's the last person left on her ship. The story is about an engineer who sees the world differently than other people do. He has a unique perspective on what it means to be an engineer, what it means to be part of society. He feels that the spaceships are the center of society and wants to protect them. He's trying to save something that means a lot to him, but he doesn't know how to do it. Okay, that's pretty interesting. He is an engineer who's trying to save the spaceships. I'm gonna kind of keep that part. This is a story about a young girl who discovers her ability to travel through time. No, I don't want that kind of thing. She starts out as a very young girl trying to solve the problems with her friend on another spaceship. She meets other people along the way and they help her develop blank. What do they help her develop? Let's do multiple choice and find out. The skills she needs to survive? That's interesting. Okay, what if these spaceships are no longer managed by people? They kind of run wild with their environments inside them. That's very interesting. They teach her skills and abilities to become a great pilot. So she's steering these ships. Maybe it's about making decisions in that vein about where to take the spaceship. That's cool, but I think I need a little more understanding where the story's going in order to do that. The skills she needs to help her friend. It's a very nice little romance with a hint of mystery too. The guy who played Data on Star Trek was in this movie. So that's clearly taking it from a movie description. Skills you need to survive. Maybe, what is she surviving? Survive breakdown of the ship's eco. Okay. I feel like we've got a pretty interesting thread going in this world build so far. So I'm going to call it a night and finish up here. But I'm definitely going to continue this at some other time. And if you want to rejoin, that way I can continue to build this out, and then you can learn how to use the AI, because it is coming to open beta, I think, by November. So it's just a great tool for creatives in general. But yeah.